The man inside this monster truck is about to launch a 12,000-pound vehicle 30 feet in the air, do a backflip in front of 50,000 screaming fans, and stream it live on YouTube to over 200 countries. He gets paid about $54,000 a year. The truck he's driving is worth more than his house, and the company that owns the truck, they made more money off the t-shirt in row 12 than he'll make all weekend. Oh, and real quick, I should back up before we get started. So a few weeks ago, I went to a Monster Jam show in Denver, and I sat there watching 12,000-pound trucks doing backflips in front of 50,000 people, and I just started wondering, how does this work? Who owns these trucks? How much does the driver make? How many different people are driving the same gravedigger right now in different cities? This is a world that I just stepped into, and I had a lot of questions. And then I figured, if I was wondering, other people probably were too. And what I found was a company that almost nobody can name. Most people can't name them, which is really strange because the company in question owns one of the most recognizable circus brands in American history. They've been licensing Disney characters for live arena shows for over 40 years. They quietly took the rights to put Marvel and Jurassic World on stage. They've sold tickets to more than 340 million Disney on Ice fans, and they've been operating in some form since 1967. Now, a company like that should have a name that you know and recognize. It's called Feld Entertainment, and it's headquartered in Palmetto, Florida, on a road that the company was powerful enough to get named after themselves. And here's where it gets quiet. They're privately held, no SEC filings, no earnings calls, no analyst coverage. The most credible estimate of their annual revenue came from Forbes in 2015, $1.3 billion. Feld has never confirmed that number, they've never confirmed any revenue number, and they don't have to. The family running the company is 3 generations deep. The patriarch, Kenneth Feld, is 77 and still chairman of the board. Forbes estimated his fortune at $1.8 billion back in 2014. By 2023, that figure had climbed to $2.9 billion. His youngest daughter, Juliette Feld Grossman, became the CEO on July 25, 2024. She is the third CEO in the company's 57-year history. A family worth nearly $3 billion. Running an empire most of their own customers have never even heard of. That gap is the entire strategy. The architecture of this company is built on a single ruthless principle. Own the intellectual property, never own the talent. And they learned that principle from a deal in 1971 that took 11 years to undo. 3 men sit down inside the ruins of the Roman Colosseum to sign some papers. The date is November 11th, 1967. One of them is Roy Hofheinz, the former Houston judge who built the Astrodome. The second is Israel Feld, and the third is his brother, Irvin Feld, a concert promoter from Hagerstown, Maryland. Now, they are buying the Ringling Bros and Barnum and Bailey Circus from the Ringling family. The price? It's $8 million. The greatest show on Earth, sold inside the greatest amphitheater on Earth for the price of a decent house in Manhattan today. Irvin Feld didn't arrive at that signing by accident. As a teenager in the 1930s, he worked traveling carnivals as a snake oil salesman. He used that money to open a drugstore in Washington, D.C., which turned into a record store, which turned into a chain of record stores, which turned into a concert promotion business. And by the early 1960s, he was one of the most powerful producers in America. He's credited with discovering Paul Anka. He promoted tours for the Beatles, Chuck Berry, and Bill Haley. And then he saw something that his peers didn't see. The British invasion was squeezing promoter margins. He told his son Kenneth that he wanted out of rock and roll. Rock fans, he said, age. Children regenerate. Every year, there's a new batch of 4-year-olds who have never seen a circus, and that audience renews itself forever, over and over. 2 years after the Coliseum deal, Irvin took the company public. 2 years after that, in 1971, Mattel, the toy company, Well, they bought it from him for $50 million in Mattel stock, and then Mattel's stock ends up crashing. And for a decade, the Felds watched the value of their payout evaporate while Mattel demanded automatic 15% annual revenue increases from the circus. Mattel did not understand live entertainment. They could not make the numbers work. By 1982, their entertainment division was losing more than $1 million a year. So, the Felds buy back the circus for $22.8 million in cash, less than half of what Mattel had paid them 11 years earlier. And the package they bought back included more than the circus. It included Holiday on Ice, Ice Follies, Walt Disney's World on Ice, the Siegfried and Roy production they had launched in Vegas in 1981. They had sold one circus for $50 million in depreciating Mattel stock and had bought back 4 properties for $22 million in cash. That deal is the founding trauma of Feld Entertainment. Everything they had done since 1982 is shaped by what they learned from Mattel. Never go public again, never disclose more than you have to, never put strategic control in someone else's hands. Not Wall Street's, not boards, not star performers, nobody's. And the next 40 years would prove them right. When Irvin Feld died in 1984, his 35-year-old son Kenneth took over. He spent the next 4 decades building one of the most diversified family entertainment portfolios in the world. And he did it by mastering one move over and over again. License the IP, don't create it, don't pay stars, stage other people's brands. Start with Disney on Ice. The Felds have been licensing Disney characters since 1981, 45 years. More than 340 million guests performed in over 80 countries. The royalty arrangement Disney accepts has never been made public. Marvel Universe Live, licensed from Disney and Marvel, launched in 2014. Jurassic World Live, licensed from Universal, launched in 2019. Sesame Street Live, picked up from Sesame Workshop in 2017, taken from a competing producer. Then in 2008, Feld made the move that quietly transformed the company. They bought Monster Jam and Supercross and a handful of related motorsports properties from Live Nation. Now, Live Nation was a public company. The motorsports division didn't fit inside their quarterly model. Feld absorbed it, and it all turned into a new center of gravity. Today, Monster Jam runs more than 350 live events a year in over 30 countries. And here's where the genius gets ugly. Feld owns the trucks, Gravedigger, Max D, El Toro Loco, Megalodon. Those are corporate trademarks. There are multiple Gravedigger trucks in the fleet. There are multiple drivers trained to pilot them. Feld can put one driver and a Gravedigger in Houston tonight and a different driver and a different Gravedigger in Frankfurt tomorrow. The brand never misses a show, the brand never gets injured, and the brand never asks for a raise. So to see what this looks like physically, if you found yourself in Palmetto, Florida, you would see that the headquarters covers 580,000 square feet. Inside, the paint booth is large enough to paint 4 monster trucks at once, or 1 full railroad car. Rehearsal halls where a trapeze troupe practices a new finale next to a garage where a Monster Jam chassis is being welded together. The Mickey Mouse costume shop is on the same floor. This is the most boring building in America, and it's also the engine of one of the most profitable live entertainment companies on the planet. Marvel belongs to Disney, Mickey belongs to Disney, the dinosaurs belong to Universal, the Muppets belong to Sesame Workshop, but Feld owns the building they all live in when they go on tour. The asset is the building. The asset is the dirt. The asset is the brand on the truck. But here's what I couldn't stop thinking about. If the brand is the asset, then the human inside the spectacle is something else entirely. The skater in the Anna costume, the clown, the motocross rider, the driver in the helmet doing the backflip 30 feet in the air, they are operators, pilots, interchangeable parts inside a machine that Feld owns by design. And once I figured that out, I couldn't look at any of this the same way again. In a small town called Paxton, Illinois, there's a school that almost nobody out of Monster Jam fandom knows exists. It's called Monster Jam University, and the head instructor is a man named Tom Meents, a 14-time Monster Jam World Finals champion. And every Monster Jam driver goes through this program. Rookies show up at Meents' shop. They learn to pilot a vehicle that weighs 12,000 pounds and produces 1,500 horsepower. They learn the physics of a backflip. They learn how to land a truck that's been launched 30 feet in the air. When a rookie gets stuck upside down in a roll cage after a botched backflip, Meents critiques the throttle timing over the radio. Now, what looks like a school is functionally a factory. Feld is manufacturing interchangeable pilots for the trucks they own. So compare this to traditional motorsports. In NASCAR, drivers race their own team's cars. With sponsors, they negotiate themselves inside a league with a real drivers association. In Formula One, drivers are global celebrities with personal endorsement deals worth tens of millions. In independent monster truck circuits, drivers own their trucks and pay to compete in what's called the bid system. You bring your truck to a fairgrounds, you pay the promoter, you keep some of the gate. However, Monster Jam abolishes all of that. Feld owns the truck, Feld owns the brand, Feld owns the training program, Feld owns the venue deal, the driver is an employee or a contractor, and the driver gets paid what Feld decides to pay them. And what Feld decides to pay them, according to publicly reported salary data from ZipRecruiter, averages around $54,000 a year. Rookies make less, top stars can supplement through merchandise royalties and sponsorship deals. A handful of legacy names like the Anderson family, who built Gravedigger into a brand before Feld absorbed it, they've done very well. But the median driver, the one doing the backflip in front of 50,000 fans on a Saturday night, takes home about $54,000 a year. That's below the median household income in America, without the pension, without the union, with significantly more risk to their spine. Some of these drivers, by the way, also hold a Class A commercial driver's license because between cities, they often drive the transport rig that hauls their own truck down the interstate. The truck is the star. Gravedigger is a bigger brand than any human who's ever driven it, and Feld figured that out before the fans did. That same logic of total control runs through everything else they do, especially when someone tries to write their story without permission. In the year 2000, a coalition of animal rights groups decided to take Feld Entertainment apart in court. Now, the fight that followed lasted 17 years. Led by the ASPCA, they filed a federal lawsuit over the treatment of Ringling Bros circus elephants. Now, to have standing to sue, they recruited a former Ringling barn worker named Tom Ryder, who claimed emotional and aesthetic injury from witnessing how the elephants were treated. In 2009, a federal judge named Emmett Sullivan rules against them. He calls the case frivolous, vexatious, and groundless from the inception, and rules why. Tom Ryder had been paid roughly $190,000 over the course of the litigation by the very groups suing on his behalf. Now, some of those payments routed through a non-profit front group disguised in the ledgers as media grants or legal expenses. Feld didn't stop the dismissal. They countersued under the RICO Act, the federal racketeering statute originally written to dismantle the mafia. In December 2012, the ASPCA settled for $9.3 million, and in May 2014, the Humane Society of the United States and the remaining co-defendants paid Feld another $15.7 million. Total recovery to Feld Entertainment, over $25 million. Kenneth Feld won every case, and the elephants left anyway. In March 2015, Feld announced the elephants would retire to the company's conservation center in Polk County, Florida. The deadline kept moving up, partly because of patchwork of city-level bullhook bans that made touring logistically impossible. So by May 2016, the elephants were off the road for good. And then, ticket sales collapsed. Juliet Feld told the press that the drop was much greater than expected. Her father, Kenneth, gave another outlet a quieter answer. Try getting a 3 or 4-year-old to sit for 12 minutes. On January 14, 2017, Feld announced that the Ringling Bros and Barnum and Bailey Circus, after 146 years of continuous operation, would close. The last show ran on May 21, 2017 at the Nassau Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. 462 people lost their jobs. What actually killed the circus came from inside the same arena Feld put it in. The kids wanted Marvel. They wanted princesses. They wanted monster trucks. The Elephant Act, the Clown Car, the Ringmaster, all of it was competing with Spider-Man and Iron Man and Gravedigger and Anna and Elsa. He couldn't keep up. PETA spent 17 years trying to take Feld down in court and ended up writing them a $25 million check. The threat that mattered was internal. In September 2023, Feld rebooted Ringling in Bossier City, Louisiana. No animals, no clowns, no ringmaster, just human acrobats. The brand still had value. The brand was always the asset. Feld can lose its 146-year-old flagship and keep growing because the flagship was just one brand in an entire portfolio. And the family that controls that portfolio has spent 30 years making sure nobody writes their story for them. In the early 1990s, a freelance journalist named Jan Potker started researching a book about the Feld family. She wanted to write about their history, their wealth, the private dynamics of the family business. Within months, she was being watched. According to court filings Potker later submitted, Kenneth Feld hires a man named Claire George to run surveillance on her. Now, the operation lasts 8 years. Claire George is the former deputy director of operations at the CIA. He's been a central figure in the Iran-Contra affair. The surveillance, according to Potker's lawsuit, includes phone taps, listening devices in her house, and a fake book packager who approaches her with a competing book project about the Mars Candy family. The goal of the decoy, she alleged, was to keep her distracted and prevent her from finishing the Feld book. She eventually sued for $60 million. Feld's lawyers admitted the operation existed. They argued it hadn't actually harmed her. The case settled. The book never got published. I guess this is what privacy looks like inside the Feld family, and it's not only outside journalists. In 2011, Kenneth's older sister Karen Feld, disinherited at her father Irvin's death in 1984, sued Kenneth for $110 million. She alleged that she had been assaulted by security guards at a family shiva, and the case went to trial. The jury found neither side had proven its case. Karen Feld lost. The carefully managed silence around the family personal history held. Meanwhile, the empire kept getting bigger. In March 2024, Monster Jam starts live streaming every live event for free on YouTube to over 200 countries. No paywall, no subscription, no traditional broadcaster between the company and the audience. And this is the move that gets a lot less attention than it actually deserves. Feld already owned the brands. Now, they own the distribution. They give the broadcast away for free, and they convert the next generation of fans into ticket buyers and merchandise customers. The toy licensing deal with Spin Master, signed in 2017, has put a generation of Monster Jam die-cast trucks into the hands of kids who watch their idols on a phone for free, without ever paying a broadcaster $1. The family that spent 50 years controlling their own private corporate narrative now controls their own private distribution channel. So here's where we are. The next time you take a kid to Disney on Ice, the next time you watch a Monster Jam truck do a backflip, the next time you buy a Spider-Man action figure from a live show, or take a toddler to Sesame Street Live, or sit in a stadium for Supercross, that money is going to one family in Palmetto, Florida. A family worth almost $3 billion. A family that has never gone public, never disclosed their revenue, never had to apologize for a layoff or a closure on a public earnings call. The brand names you know are the storefront. The company name you don't know is the empire. The driver in the helmet is interchangeable. The skater in the Anna costume is interchangeable. The motocross rider, the acrobat, the clown, all of them, by design, are replaceable parts inside an intellectual property machine that just keeps running. The trucks are the stars. The Disney characters are the stars. The dirt is the star. The people are operators. The family that figured it out 50 years ago built the most successful family entertainment company in America, and almost nobody can name them.